Hello and thank you all for watching. This is Manny Sunny Sun for a astrological report. We have a devoted, I have devoted an article for today. It's about the heaven at the moment, the entrance of the lovely Venus in the sign of Cancer, where she finds sweetness of resources, intimacy, um, emotional sharing, but also rather in an astrological substantive issue, namely the square in astrology. What is a square in a chart? Well, what can we do with our natal square? How do we understand and use it towards our evolution? The horoscopes can be compared to a kind of map of our life paths. It describes our abilities, our gifts, and what we have to offer that is valuable and special in the world. And it also describes the type of work on ourselves that we have to operate. The the type of understanding and transmutations to be done to evolve. The North Node position sign, in addition to the Sun sign, will provide an excellent indication of a type of inner metamorphosis that we must develop. But the square will give a list of adjustments that the soul has to perform, much like a specification received in early life. But before going further, what does a square? Is something that connects two planets by an angle of 90 degrees. It connects two signs of the same mode, cardinal, fixed, and mutable. Um, a square is conflict, obstacles. Um, so it connects those. For example, I have the Sun, 5 degrees, Gemini, mutable air sign, and makes a inharmonious square to planet Jupiter, 5 degrees, in a sign of Virgo, a mutable earth sign. There will be a gap of 90 degrees between these two planets. Therefore, um, it is a square. Generally, in astrology software, it is shown by red lines. To give you an idea in cardinal mode, the squares are between Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. This is currently the case of the square between Uranus and Aries, Pluto and Capricorn. For the fixed mode, the signs are involved as Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. For the mutable signs, we find Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. The square will represent the tensions between two signs which are by nature different. In this case of the square, it is as each planet is involved, pulling to one side, and each row is wants to be right. The views are absolutely different. These tensions will be shown in the square. Um, of the carrier of an inner tension that can be felt um, at various times of life and during crises. These tensions are intended to set in motion the soul of the status quo and the comfort zone. The pressure is too strong, it has to change. Thus, the squares are not necessarily a bad thing in time. On the contrary, it indicates a change, a dynamism, a strong pressure for doing something and evolutionize the soul. The square will also represent the type of work we have to do according to the planet involved. The theme to become a grid word to bring healing to sustainable and inner harmony. The square in direction can cause suffering for being not attuned at the universal harmony and must realign itself at an inside job. Among the most prominent square, the ones that you can see in your chart, the squares will be found between the personal planets, such as the Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, with transpersonal planets are Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. A series of articles will be aimed to deepen the specific squares, and you can comment me on individual squares you want me to approach. But at first, already, let me see the overall meaning of the squares in connection with transpersonal planets. A square involving Jupiter with the person in his integrity, his moral sense, and acceptance are not the laws of society. A Jupiter square can score an exaggeration, and untidy, too indulgent with themselves or with others, or when a person who does not play the game of society and violating consciously or unconsciously the moral code, the society to which it operates, crimes, dubious moral sense, mind approximation, generosity, etc. A square involving Saturn will question a person. On the, on the contrary, it's rigid and its blockages. There is something, a fear which prevents anyone from opening and enjoying life in relationships or with others. The individual to control which turn creates a great sense of frustration and loneliness. If the square to Jupiter demands structuring and verticality, righteousness, honor, etc., the square with Saturn represents for his destruction of all barriers and internal prisons that prevent our essential being, our emotions to flow. A square with Uranus will talk about issues of rebellion, revolt. Also, it is likely that that being that has a square with Uranus wants to do something his way. He wants his freedom to think and do what he may be. Sometimes at the expense of others, of the freedom of others. There may be a background of anger and a sense of superiority overall who confirm to society the Jovian and the Saturnian backgrounds. There's a researched intensity, stimulation, change that can prevent being forward, bringing in his life constant change and turnaround. This square would ask us to integrate the values of Jupiter and Saturn to participate well into society with roles while bringing creativity and renewal. Uranus, of course, is own without lapsing into marginality. A square to Neptune will question a person about his ability to be intuitive, lucid at the same time. An article has been written about the dissonance between Neptune. You can check a video about that, Neptune and the hazard of identification. And finally, a square to Pluto. Well, it will indicate that the soul is here to convert, to operate the concept of power. There you have misuse of power. Is there a willingness? Sometimes you dominate, manipulate, get his own way. A deep introspection must be conducted to put the soul in just the use of power in connection with his heart and the concept of love and others. There is also a job to do interior softening and healing in general. The square of Pluto to the moon, for example, can cause a form of anxiety. Will be offset by seeking perhaps to dominate things and situations. But what will be the limited result? Well, here are some tips. Addressing this theme as a field of study and experimentation for a transformation is exciting. To tackle this job, it is important to be in benevolence with yourself, remembering that the whole world is down here on earth to have a specific job to do. May the love of self as the basis and key to all inner transformation and work. I wish you all a great weekend that leads us to the full moon, to the new moon happening in Taurus, May 18th, at 26 degrees of this sign. Thank you all for watching.